And what maybe after where it says phrenic nerve, put down Adam. Adam has a great picture of it, and its nerve goes right over the diaphragm. Remember, our diaphragm is a little flat muscle that's underneath the rib cage, and if that muscle spasms, a twitch, it's going to send a blast of air up, and what sounds do we make? Hiccups. So if the diaphragm flaps, sends air up. Those are those. Let's talk about the eye and the ear. I'm just sort of getting you a jump start on this. I haven't lectured on it, so I'll try to keep the high spots. All right, so I'm going to start off with him. Whoops. You're already starting off with an eye problem. All right, whoops. So there's a gland. Everybody point to the upper right near your eyebrow. There's a gland up here. And what do you think that gland does? It makes something that's very important. Tears. So that's called the lacrimal gland. So the lacrimal gland is associated on the lateral side of the eye, and it's going to make tears. 16. So it's 14 and 16. 15 doesn't have any practical structures. Okay? And I'm going to see if I can... This model doesn't really have it except for its opening. You see this opening right there? You see that opening? You see this opening right there? See that opening? There's actually two tubes that go from the eye across. Those are called the lacrimal canals. There's two tubes that go right down from the eye to the nasal lacrimal duct. Guess where the nasal lacrimal duct goes to? Nose. So when you cry, have you ever noticed that your nose runs? And if you're crying a lot, and then you go, what does it taste like? Does it taste salty? Because it's not nose stuff coming out, it's eye stuff coming out. So you know how you always get, I call it eye boogers, but you know that little salty thing sometimes? There is a connection or a tube or a canal, and tears have salt in them. So the salt water collects there, the tears dry up, and what's left? Salt. And it has some enzymes and antibodies and other things. So this is the lacrimal gland. There's two little lacrimal canals, and there's this big thing that goes right down in the top of the nose. Is called the nasolacrimal duct. So when you're crying, your nose runs. It tastes like tears because it is tears. Anything else? Okay, so let's see. The conjunctiva is a clear layer that goes over the eye. So it's, you know where the white part is? Look at your neighbor. Look. Okay. All right. So the white part, there's a covering over that white part that folds back into your upper eyelid and lower eyelid. That's called the conjunctiva. Have you ever gotten something in your eye and noticed it doesn't go to the back of the eye? You know, like you're putting stuff in there. So there's a layer that goes from the eyelid all the way inside the eyelid and folds back over. So yeah, you can get something in between your eyelid and the eye, but there's no way for it to go all the way back up into your brain. And that's essential, which is good. Okay, so your conjunctiva, sometimes you can get irritated due to pollution or viruses or bacteria, and it gets irritated. We call it conjunctivitis. And sometimes we'll say pink eye. Okay? And then what kids do when they get viral pink eye, because they rub their nose and they rub their eye, and guess what they do? They rub their eye and then they rub their other eye, and that's why they get bilateral conjunctivitis. All right, you do not have to know the individual ones, but there's a number of, look at all these eye muscles. So everybody put your eyes up. Look up without moving your head. And look down. Right. Left. And circular motion counterclockwise. Going at each, like that. Okay. So, what are we talking about?
Why are you talking like that?
All right. No, because I'm trying not to move my, because I want to do this. Anyway. So what happens, there's a lot of muscles in the eye, and they use very minute muscle pulls, and they can pull in different directions, and they help move the eye. And the ability for the eye to move is exceptional, right? How many cranial nerves are we dealing with the eyes? 4. That's a lot of nerves. So 4 out of the 12 cranial nerves that comes out of the brain just work with the eye. What's cranial nerve number 2?
Optic.
3? Just checking. All right, so let's see. So the cornea. So I'm going to go with the other one. Can you hand me that other one? And there's a... Yep, there you go. Almost. All right. So here is, there's a covering On the outside front part of the eye, that's called the, okay, this is called the cornea. Cornea. So this is called the cornea. It's a thickened, it has protein in there, it's a thickened layer. It doesn't have a lot of vascularity. Okay? It doesn't have any blood vessels going to it. I used to wear glasses for 30 some odd years, and then I had the LASIK procedure.
Me too.
Where you had it too? Wasn't it great? You walk out of there.
Yeah, but it's not working anymore. Like,
oh, are you 10 years out? How many years out are you?
no, just 2 years.
Oh.
After 2 years, it started not to work.
Really?
That
Got to
good.
go back to the doctor. About
5
10 years
years.
out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that.
Right. Well, you know. sometimes
No,
you
it's
do.
still good. I mean,
It's good,
but I still
but-
can see without my glasses, but
about-
sometimes I have
How
to.
about medicine bottles? Are you starting to
Mm,
problem with focus with medicine bottles?
no,
Because it might be just your anyway.
I think that's true.
So what happens, this is the cornea, and what they do is they peel back, and I'll show you pictures of it when we lecture on it. They peel it back, they zap it with a laser, flap it back over, and they recontour the cornea to make up for deficiencies in lens so you're able to see much better. And when I came out of there, there was a bucket of glasses, and you just take your glasses.
Yep.
Do you have a bucket of glasses?
Yeah.
And it was probably 10 minutes, of which 5 minutes was the guy just jammering on about something. Or
It's the
other.
best thing ever. I would do every single
And
day.
it was no stitches, boom, done.
Yep.
Let's see, what else? So this is the cornea. The sclera after, so clear, right next to cornea, write down clear layer that protects the front of the eye. No vascularity. The sclera is the white portion of the eye. So look at your neighbors so we can see the white portions of the eye. There you go. There you go. Everybody has sclera. Sometimes in the sclera there are little tiny blood vessels on the surface. So sometimes you see, there you go. Sometimes you might see, if you've been rubbing your eyes, they get a little bloodshot, vasodilation because they're inflamed. So the sclera, that goes around the back 5/6 or 4/5 of the eye. It goes all the way around in the back. There's different layers. So let's see, there's basically 3 layers. Whoops. All right, I got some eye trouble. Can you keep an eye on that? Anyway, so the outer layer is called the sclera. There's the next layer, which is kind of dark. That's called the choroid. So I would say sclera outer layer. Then the choroid is a middle layer, and write down dark pigments. We'll actually see this when we dissect the eye. It's really great. We dissect cow eyes. Whoa, and it's really cool. An owl eye? Wow.
I think, or some kind of bird.
And wasn't it cool with the layers? Was it jelly inside?
Squishy.
It's squishy, and it spurts. Okay, that's great. We usually lose a couple people when we're doing some eye stuff. And then the inside layer that everybody knows about is what? What's the inside layer? Okay, it starts with an R. It ends with retina. Right, the retina. So that's where all the cones and the rods and the receptors are, so the inside. So what's the outside white layer? The middle layer has the pigment and blood vessels, choroid. And then the inside layer? Retina. And that's where we have all the receptors, so I can see you and you can see me. Does everybody see? No, it just doesn't end. Let's skip. Okay, so let's do. Let's see how do I. Where did my iris go? There we go. So here we go. Just to talk about. I'm skipping over a couple things because it's going to make it a little bit easier. So here we go. So look at your neighbor and see what color eyes they have. So see their color eyes. Light brown, and go dark, lighter. Sometimes if you look really close, not too close, if you look close, that you can see different colors in there. So it's made as a combination of colors. And remember when we talked about melanin? And we talked about, and that's involved with eye color too. So melanin and the production of melanin. So the iris is, I would write down curtain. C-U-R-T-A-I-N. You know, curtain in a theater where you can pull the curtain open and close the curtain. Curtain call. Okay. So this iris is the curtain, and then sometimes if there is a dark light, what happens to your pupil? It gets bigger because you want to be able to see. So your pupil is a hole in the curtain. So the definition of a pupil is you guys, right? You're